Absolutely everything changes when the real ones step on the field. You know the vibe. All the buzz about cuts, depth chart battles, guys getting shuffled back to the practice squad. It vanishes the second the starters lock in. All that fringe talk. Fun for camp, sure. But once the ball is snapped for real, it's Aaron Rodgers throwing lasers, DK Metcalf making circus catches, Cam Hayward crashing pockets, and TJ Watt living in the backfield. That's the show. That's the difference between August hype and September reality. It's easy to get caught up in the drama of the final 53. Fans obsess over the last receiver in the room or whether a promising undrafted linebacker sneaks onto the roster. And hey, we get it. Those stories are everywhere this time of year. But when the lights hit and it's game time, those players aren't deciding your season. It's the ones who matter, the legit starters, the playmakers, the names on the jerseys people actually buy. The guys who can carry your team to the postseason. Or not. The Steelers, like the rest of the league, just wrapped a mandatory 4-day break before they reconvene to fully flip the switch toward week 1 of the regular season. And let's be honest here. That's when it all starts to count. That's when schemes get locked in, timing gets sharpened, and everyone shifts focus to what truly determines wins and losses. Let's talk about Rodgers and Metcalf for a second, because if you weren't at camp in Latrobe, you missed something borderline magical. No exaggeration. The connection between those two was flat-out electric. And no, they didn't appear in preseason games. But anyone who made the trip to St. Vincent College, thousands did, knows what I'm talking about. It wasn't just the back shoulder fades or the jump balls down the sideline. It was the crispness, the precision, the shared instincts. The way Metcalf would snap his head around and the ball was already there, as if Rodgers had read his mind before he even planted his foot. That kind of connection, it doesn't happen overnight. It's forged in reps, in film study, in off-script moments that don't make it to TV broadcasts. And the truth is, it was happening daily, just not under the bright lights of the preseason. But man, it was happening. And when that offense finally gets unleashed in full, it's going to be hard not to notice. Especially when you add a tight end like Jonnu Smith into the equation. Here's a guy who led the Dolphins in receptions last year, nearly hitting 900 yards from the tight end position. A dynamic weapon who can line up anywhere on the field and cause mismatches, who barely took a snap in anger during the preseason. Doesn't matter. He's ready. He's healthy. He's 29 years old with plenty of gas in the tank. And he's a legit YAC threat, something this offense has been sorely missing for a long time. Think about that for a second. When was the last time the Steelers had a tight end, or any pass catcher, really, who could consistently get separation and pick up chunk yards after the catch? John is not just a safety valve. He's an option weapon. He can flex out wide, line up in the slot, get his hands dirty in line, or even sneak into the backfield if Arthur Smith decides to get creative. And that creativity could be the hidden key to this offense. Because if Smith, the coordinator, find a way to fully unlock the potential of his tight end room, the Steelers might just become unpredictable. That's the word you want to hear if you're a fan. Unpredictable. Think about how many times in recent years this offense has felt like it was operating in a box, stuck in predictable formations, easy to read at the line, with route trees that rarely threaten defenses in multiple ways. Now, imagine rolling out a package with 3 tight ends, Jonnu, Pat Freiermuth, and Darnell Washington. Not just for show, not just to block, but to attack, to flex the formation, stress the defense, and force mismatches all over the field. Now switch to the other side of the ball. Everyone knows what TJ Watt brings. Everyone knows what Alex Highsmith can do when he's hunting quarterbacks. But what this defense flashed in the first few days of camp, and then smartly tucked away after that, was something far more aggressive, more chaotic, more, dare we say, schemed. It was a full-on assault, attacking from every angle, every level, with no clear tell of who was blitzing or who was dropping. One snap, you'd see Joey Porter Jr. crash off the edge while TJ drops into shallow coverage. Next play, it's Jalen Ramsey flying into the backfield while the entire front 4 slants away from the pressure. You couldn't predict it. You couldn't prep for it. You could only survive it, if you were lucky. And it wasn't just the edge rushers. Defensive backs were part of the chaos, too. Brandon Eccles, Darius Slay, Deshaun Elliott, all showing blitz looks, disguising coverages, spinning the chessboard. This wasn't just a show of raw talent. It was a defensive scheme with teeth, with creativity, with a clear goal of disruption. The kind of approach that doesn't just keep quarterbacks guessing, it forces them into mistakes. Now picture that against someone like Justin Fields, who's going to be the first test when the season kicks off. A dynamic athlete, sure, but also someone who's struggled with processing speed and decisiveness at times. This kind of pressure, disguised, relentless, calculated, could be a nightmare. You don't want to let Fields break contain and start creating with his legs. You want to force him into quick reads, keep him boxed in, collapse the pocket from unexpected angles, and get bodies in his face before he even finds his first read. That's what the Steelers have been building toward. That's what we saw in flashes at camp. And that's what's coming. But here's the wildest part. 99.9% of fans haven't seen any of this yet. Most people just watched the preseason games and figured same old offense, same old defense. Couldn't be more wrong. What was on display in Latrobe wasn't a finished product. It was a preview, a teaser of what's to come. The ones didn't play much. They didn't need to. They already know what they're about. What they were working on was timing, rhythm, trust, the intangible stuff that makes great teams click. And if you saw Rodgers zip a pass to Metcalf on a broken play, or Jonas shake a linebacker out of his cleats on a drag route, or Porter and Ramsey high-five after blowing up a screen in the backfield, then you saw it. You felt it. This team is cooking something. Something real. Of course, questions remain. That's the nature of this league. Depth will be tested. Injuries will happen. And yes, the quarterback room still brings plenty of long-term uncertainty. Well, Howard's development, for example, took a real hit by not getting game reps in the preseason. It's tough to make an impression from the sideline. And when you're battling veterans and maybe even a future first-round pick next year, you can't afford to fall behind. But that's the game. You keep stacking options. You keep bringing in talent. Because history tells us you're not going to find your next franchise quarterback on the first try. It might take 2. Might take 4. Look at what New England's gone through post-Brady. It's been a revolving door. That's the reality. And that's what Pittsburgh is bracing for. The point isn't to crown someone today. It's to keep the pipeline moving. You want guys like Howard in the mix. You want competition. Because when the dust settles, you need a starter, yes, but you also need a reliable number 2. Someone who can step in, stabilize the ship, and maybe even win you a game or 2 if things go sideways. That's where someone like Mason Rudolph still holds value. He's a known quantity. He's battle-tested. And his second-year deal wasn't an accident. It was insurance. Still, if Rodgers delivers, if the offensive line holds up, and if the defense plays to its potential, this team could surprise people. Not just sneak into the playoffs. Not just compete, but contend. Because when the ones hit the field and the schemes come alive and the real football starts, that's when we find out who matters. There's a quiet confidence building inside this Steelers locker room, and it's not coming from the usual noise. It's not blaring from press conferences or choreographed hype videos. It's something more internal, a belief rooted in the reps they've put in away from the spotlight. Because the truth is, when the headlines are filled with cuts and speculation and preseason drama, this group has been quietly getting better, getting sharper, preparing for the only thing that truly matters. Sunday nights in the fall when the lights go up and the ball finally means something. You can feel that shift even in the way they carry themselves. Rodgers isn't walking around like a quarterback trying to prove anything. He's walking like a quarterback who already knows. He's been there. He's won. And what he's bringing to this group isn't just arm talent or football IQ. He's bringing gravity. You see it in meetings. You see it during install sessions. When he talks, they listen because the dude's done it. And that effect, that pull, it matters. Especially for younger guys trying to find their place. It brings clarity. It brings order. You know where the leadership is coming from. And that allows everyone else to lock into their role and do their job. DK Metcalf, for instance, has never looked more focused. All the noise that usually surrounds a receiver of his stature, the ego, the theatrics, the distractions, just isn't there. In Latrobe, he looked like a guy on a mission. Every route was run with purpose. Every rep was taken like it meant something. And that chemistry he's been building with Rodgers, It's not just real, it's dangerous. There were moments during those camp sessions where defenders had perfect coverage, where the timing was tight and the angle was right, and it didn't matter. Because Rodgers put the ball exactly where it had to be, and Metcalf finished the play with strength and precision. You can't scheme that away. You can't coach that into existence. That's talent meeting preparation. That's what makes defenses stay up at night. But maybe the most exciting part about this offense isn't just the stars. It's the layering, the flexibility, the way Arthur Smith is beginning to design systems that are harder to decode. Last year, everything felt flat, predictable. Opposing coordinators knew when the Steelers were running, when they were checking down, when they were taking deep shots. It was all right there, on tape, week after week. Now, that's changing. In camp, you saw shifts. You saw pre-snap motion used not just to move defenders, but to create chaos. You saw bunch sets with disguised routes. You saw running backs lining up in the slot and tight ends moving into the backfield. This isn't window dressing. This is evolution. This is a coordinator leaning into personnel strengths instead of forcing players to fit a stale mold. And that's where Jonnu Smith becomes even more valuable, because he's not limited. He can do things that crack open the playbook. You want to run a 3 tight end look that still threatens the secondary? You can do that. You want to go hurry up and force the defense into mismatches? You got the personnel now. It's not just talk anymore. It's real. The line, too, deserves credit. For years, Pittsburgh has been trying to rebuild its front five, trying to find the right mix of size, power, athleticism, and nastiness. And while it's still not perfect, it's getting close. The communication looks better. The stunts are being picked up more cleanly. The interior pressure that used to cave everything in has been reduced. And most importantly, the run game looks like it might finally have space to breathe. And let's not sleep on Najee Harris either. The guy's running with a different kind of anger this year. You can see it in the way he finishes runs in practice. He's not dancing anymore. He's hitting holes with conviction. And when the lanes are there, even just for a split second, he's exploding through them. If this offensive line holds up, if they can stay healthy and gel, Harris could remind the league exactly why he was a first-round pick. Now, you flip it to the other side, and the possibilities become even more intriguing. Because if you ask around the league who has the most game-wrecking potential defensively, Pittsburgh's name always comes up. Not because of some mythical aura, but because of the reality of TJ Watt and the chaos he brings. When Watt is healthy, he's a one-man game plan wrecker. You can chip him, double him, roll the pocket away from him, and he still finds ways to make you pay. The energy he brings lifts everyone around him. And that's not just talk. That's quantifiable. When Watt plays, the Steelers win. When he doesn't, they struggle. But the best part of this defense now is that it's not just Watt. Highsmith is turning into one of the best edge players in the league. Joey Porter Jr. is growing into a corner who's not afraid to go toe-to-toe with anyone. Minkah Fitzpatrick remains the brain in the back, reading plays before they develop. And now, with a secondary that's willing to get physical, to blitz, to bait quarterbacks, to disguise coverage, this defense doesn't just have teeth. It has layers. What we saw in those first few camp sessions was no accident. The staff threw blitz after blitz at the offense, not just for the sake of reps, but to set a tone. And it wasn't lazy pressure. It was organized chaos. Zone fires, safety blitzes, simulated pressure looks. One moment, it's Ramsey crashing off the edge. Next, it's Slay baiting a throw, only to peel off into coverage and pick it. That's what this defense is now. Unpredictable and dangerous. And maybe the most overlooked weapon in that scheme is Darius Slay. He came into camp like a man possessed. Every drill was done with intensity. Every rep was loud. And that kind of tone setting, especially in a defense that's been built to play with speed and attitude, matters. It rubs off. Guys feed on it. And when your corners are playing with confidence, when your safeties trust the front seven to create havoc, it becomes a loop. One group lifts the other. Mistakes get capitalized on, and quarterbacks start second-guessing what they're seeing. That's the difference between a good defense and a great one. A good defense makes stops. A great defense creates fear. And this unit, when healthy and dialed in, is absolutely capable of the latter. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Explosive news has erupted from the NFL circuit as former Dolphins quarterback Huntley has officially inked a contract with the Pittsburgh Steelers, sending tremors through the locker room and igniting a whirlwind of speculation among fans, analysts, and insiders alike. The move, which was first whispered in hushed tones within team circles, has now become undeniable, with sources close to the franchise confirming that Huntley's arrival is expected to significantly alter the dynamics of Pittsburgh's offensive strategy. While the Steelers have long been associated with their storied quarterback tradition, Huntley's signing introduces an element of unpredictability, particularly given his reputation for agility, tactical improvisation, and leadership under pressure. The timing of the contract also raises questions about how the coaching staff intends to integrate him into the existing roster, especially considering the presence of established players whose roles may now be subject to recalibration. Observers note that Huntley's move from Miami to Pittsburgh is not merely a shift in geography, but a strategic realignment that could influence both team morale and on-field performance. The locker room buzz, according to insiders, has been electric, with teammates reportedly oscillating between excitement and cautious anticipation as they brace for a period of adjustment and intense competition for starting positions. Analysts are already speculating on the potential schemes the Steelers might employ, pondering whether Huntley's skill set will drive a more aggressive passing game or a hybrid approach that capitalizes on his versatility. Beyond the tactical considerations, the psychological impact of this acquisition cannot be understated, as players and staff alike navigate the complex interplay of ambition, loyalty, and professional rivalry that such high-profile signings inevitably stir within a tightly knit team environment. With media outlets and fan communities erupting in discussions, memes, and predictions, it is clear that Huntley's signing has transcended the usual transaction chatter to become a focal point of NFL discourse, fueling debates that touch on everything from leadership qualities and locker room chemistry to the long-term strategic vision of the Steelers franchise. The ripple effects of Huntley joining the Steelers are reverberating far beyond the confines of Heinz Field, captivating national audiences and igniting a frenzy across sports talk shows, social media threads, and fan forums where speculation runs rampant regarding the quarterback's potential impact. Analysts are dissecting every aspect of his past performances with the Dolphins, highlighting key moments where Huntley demonstrated clutch decision-making, mobility in high-pressure scenarios, and a knack for engineering comebacks that kept Miami in contention against formidable opponents. Pittsburgh observers are drawing comparisons to previous quarterback transitions in the franchise's history, debating whether Huntley's presence will accelerate a new era or introduce unforeseen challenges as he adjusts to a different offensive system and team culture. Rumors swirling around the team suggest that training sessions have taken on a more competitive edge, with veteran players reportedly pushing themselves harder, motivated by the presence of a newcomer whose arrival signals that complacency will not be tolerated. Discussions about the potential starting lineup are heating up, with insiders hinting at possible position shifts, modified playbooks, and new tactical experiments aimed at maximizing Huntley's strengths while minimizing adaptation risks. Fans have been particularly animated, flooding Twitter and fan blogs with theories about how Huntley might mesh with Pittsburgh's receiving core, how his leadership style could influence locker room hierarchies, and whether his performance could disrupt or complement the existing offensive rhythm. The media spotlight on the quarterback's integration has intensified as pundits highlight how every practice, interview, and preseason game now carries amplified significance in gauging his impact. Moreover, the move has sparked intense debate regarding the Steelers' long-term strategy, questioning whether this acquisition signals a focus on short-term competitiveness or a calculated investment in a quarterback capable of anchoring the franchise for years to come. Across the league, rival teams are undoubtedly analyzing film and planning responses, while betting markets are adjusting odds, reflecting the widespread acknowledgement that Huntley's signing is far more than a routine roster change. It is a potentially transformative moment for the franchise and for the NFL narrative as a whole. Huntley's transition from Miami's Dolphins to Pittsburgh represents not only a change in team, but a profound shift in the narrative surrounding his career trajectory, one that combines professional ambition, strategic opportunity, and a highly charged media environment that thrives on speculation, gossip, and the anticipation of dramatic outcomes. Early reports suggest that the quarterback has already been engaging in intensive film study, team strategy sessions, and physical conditioning tailored to the Steelers' offensive schemes, signaling a serious commitment to proving his worth and earning the trust of coaches and teammates alike. Insider chatter paints a picture of a locker room simultaneously electrified and tense as veteran leaders and rising stars alike negotiate their roles in a rapidly evolving team landscape. Rumors abound regarding how Huntley's signature style, characterized by improvisational passing, keen field vision, and a willingness to take calculated risks, might reshape offensive strategies, challenge existing hierarchies, and prompt creative adaptations in both play calling and training routines. Fans have latched onto every morsel of news, from cryptic social media posts to glimpses of practice sessions, fueling online debates about who will emerge as the team's dominant offensive force and whether Huntley's presence could catalyze a playoff surge or introduce unpredictable volatility. Analysts speculate on potential mentorship dynamics, as experienced veterans may now find themselves guiding Huntley through complex playbooks, team rituals, and media scrutiny, while simultaneously facing competition for on-field prominence. The Pittsburgh media ecosystem is awash with discussion, rumor, and conjecture, often amplifying minor details into major storylines, reflecting the intense public interest in how this signing will unfold. Even league executives are reportedly monitoring the development, aware that Huntley's integration could influence league-wide narratives, strategic matchups, and even player market dynamics in the upcoming free agency cycles. In essence, what began as a routine contractual signing has escalated into a focal point of NFL intrigue, sparking endless speculation, analysis, and a level of excitement that transforms every practice, game, and media briefing into a potential headline moment, confirming that Huntley's arrival in Pittsburgh is far more than a roster update. It is a catalyst for storylines that will dominate conversations across the league for months to come. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Pittsburgh Steelers, make sure to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.